And we are live for another edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Nicholas Pavona, joined alongside, as always, by my co-host, Andrew Johnson. And Johnson, now we are getting into the final weeks of the NFL regular season, 14 weeks in the books. A lot of thrilling games that we had this past Thursday, going into Sunday, and into Monday Night Football just a couple days ago. And Week 15 brings us one of the, dare I say, one of the best slates we have in the entire year. A couple big time matchups, including matchups with teams in first place trying to secure their own division titles while also securing a playoff spot. And we have teams also trying to fight for a potential wild card opportunity as well that we'll be seeing in Week 15. But talking about Week 14, I mentioned a lot of great games and some interesting news that we also have outside of the NFL world for a certain team and quarterback dire need. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. But let's start off with the Thursday night game that we had between Dallas and Detroit.
Yeah, absolute big win for Detroit. It was a win to get over the hump for both these teams.
Yeah, it felt like this was the quintessential eliminator game for either side, and Detroit desperately needed it because of the way the NFC North is right now, with the Bears and the Packers ahead of you at the current moment in time. They really needed to win this game because a wild card slot pretty much seems unlikely too, with the way the NFC West has also been. And they really just did a great job of this game, showcasing the talent that they have in this roster. I mean, of course, getting back Amon-Ra St. Brown, who we did not think was going to play in this game, that was definitely a big help for this Lions offense. But the story of this offensive game for them was, of course, again, Jahmyr Gibbs. Didn't do much in terms of, rushing in this game. Just had 43 yards rushing, but 3 rushing touchdowns. He also had 7 catches for 77 yards in the backfield. You had Williams had 96 yards receiving. Amon-Ra St. Brown with 92. Jared Goff did just enough to win this game. And the Lions defense, yes, they gave up 30 points in this game, Johnson, but they really stood out in this game because they got 5 sacks on Dak Prescott. They forced 2 big interceptions. And as you said, they get a monster win to keep their season alive. And Dallas now, it seems like the only way that they're going to make the playoffs this season is by winning the NFC East.
Yeah, and it's still viable for them to win the NFC East, especially because they have a game against the Eagles left. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong about that.
That is incorrect.
Oh, they already played both? I thought they had one more.
No, they played them on opening night, and then they played them just a couple weeks ago.
Ah, that's right. Opening night. How can
if I'm not mistaken, I think the Eagles' remaining schedule, I think they have the Commanders twice. The Raiders are another game.
I was thinking of the Commanders. That's what I was thinking of.
I don't remember the other team. There's there's another team between those 3. I just don't remember the last team of who it is. I'd have to look it up.
But anyways, the Lions need this. I think if the Lions lost this, Dan Campbell would have went from on the hot seat to...
No, they wouldn't have fired him.
Not immediate firing, but he would have had 1 foot on the way out. He would have had 1 foot in the door on the way out. So it's must need for them. Lions impress. Cowboys, once again, don't do anything. That team's still not back, but they have had one of the easier schedules in the NFL too. If you take a look at the official ratings for strength of schedule, the Cowboys are near the bottom. It's a bottom 10 schedule. Yeah. Might even be bottom 5. So it's kind of wondering why they're struggling at 5 and at 6-6.
It's been their defense. I mean, that's been a big problem for them all season. And the thing going into this game was that the defense was starting to play a little bit better going into this matchup. And you kind of saw things that we saw earlier on in the season. And it could be a testament to what you were just mentioning before of how some of the teams that they've been playing as of recently have not really had strong offensive years. The Chiefs have been so up and down the last couple of weeks. The Eagles, of course, have been so up and down the last couple of weeks. The Raiders are the Raiders. But then they lose that game to the Cardinals. They give up 40 to the Broncos. So it's been stuff that's just been really bad for this defense all year. And then they finally get back to what we saw earlier on in the season. They allowed 44 points in this game. And looking at it now, I looked at the Eagles' other game. It was the Buffalo Bills. I forgot about that game. So the Eagles have the Raiders, the Commanders twice, and the Bills remaining on their schedule. For Dallas, their final 4 games, they have the Vikings, the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Giants in order. So it's doable, for them, but they're going to need some help um, to win the division because, as I mentioned, the Eagles, you could probably give the Bills maybe a great opportunity to win that game. That's one win for Dallas to make up for, but they need either the Raiders or the Commanders to win one of those games for them to have a chance to win the division. So
So,
it's there for Dallas, but it's going to be tough.
speaking of big wins and needed for the division, let's talk about the Steelers getting back into the win column with a win over the rival Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson has not looked like Lamar.
This
He's looked like a
was
shell of himself.
Yeah, he's playing hurt for sure. There's just no doubt about it.
Which I don't understand why they would let him do that. But whatever.
Because I think it comes down to you really can't rely on Tyler Huntley at this point to be your guy to try to help you win a division. Which, in
He's a
fairness,
Pro Bowl
Tyler Huntley,
quarterback.
yeah, I guess, but he did win them a game before Lamar came back, so I'll give him that. Lamar throws a really bad interception in this game. The big story of this one, of course, towards the end was Baltimore had a chance to take the lead late in this game. They had a touchdown taken off the board after Isaiah Likely did not have full possession of the football after coming down with it in the end zone, so they had to take the touchdown off the board. The Ravens don't get the touchdown 2 plays later, and the Steelers, to their credit, did a great job in this game. It was really big showing from Aaron Rodgers. I personally think this is Rodgers, outside maybe of that Cincinnati game on Thursday night a couple weeks ago. This might have been Rodgers' best performance as a Pittsburgh Steeler the entire season. A rushing touchdown this game, 284 yards passing and a touchdown pass. Was not sacked once as well. And we finally saw a big game out of DK Metcalf too, which has been not really been seen for the majority of the season. He had 7 catches for 148 yards in this matchup. And as you mentioned, Pittsburgh, it was all the momentum really was on Baltimore going into this game, even though they lost the last week to Cincinnati. And Pittsburgh really just hit the nail and just got a big monster win. They go to 7-6. They now, as you mentioned, have first place control in the AFC North. Their remaining games, they have Miami on Monday night. They have to go to Detroit, have to go to Cleveland, and then they round out the year with Baltimore, which you have to think more than likely will be a win-it-in scenario for those two teams going into week number 18. And for Baltimore, their remaining schedule, as we mentioned last week, is probably the toughest 4-game stretch out of any team the remaining season. They're at Cincinnati this week. They're home against New England. They're at Green Bay. And then, as I mentioned, they're at Pittsburgh to round out the season.
And you know who needed this win but didn't get it, and they lost way more than the game? The Indianapolis Colts. Jaguars continue to dominate, and Daniel Jones tears his Achilles. He's playing through that broken fibula, or fractured fibula, I should say. And, when that happens, your leg isn't properly healed, right? It happens all the time in the NBA. We've seen it with the calf strains. They rush the players back, whether it's the medical staff or the player wanting to be on the field. And they suffer a lifelong injury that could potentially be career-ending, definitely career-altering. So
definitely career-altering.
So Daniel Jones, I was talking to a guy, and he had him on his fantasy team. He was pretty upset, and he said he felt bad because he's about to get paid. And I said, I'm not a Giants fan. He already got paid, so I don't feel as bad. It's not like he's a young rookie quarterback. So I know it sucks. He's having a great year. But hey, maybe he could be comeback player of the year next year. We'll see.
I think what sucks is that he was finally showing the signs that was supposed to be of a first-round quarterback when he was originally taken in the draft so many years ago. And this, of course, recent stretch for the Colts has not been great. It's been a couple of things that have been going wrong for them. Jones, of course, as you mentioned, has been hurt during this stretch. But you have to look at it like this also. It's really coming down to they're not the same, showing the same identity that we saw earlier on in the season that we've seen these last 5 weeks. And now they get to a point where now Jones, as you mentioned, is out for the rest of the season with that Achilles injury. So now you get into a point where, you saw Riley Leonard, who was the third string quarterback going into the season, because remember, Anthony Richardson has been out with that orbital fracture. So he's probably not going to play this year. And Riley Leonard gets injured as well in this game. So first, before I go into the news of what happened with the Colts afterwards, give credit to the Jaguars. They continue to dominate the Colts when they play in Jacksonville. As I mentioned last week, The Colts have not been in Jacksonville since 2014, so it has been a very long time since the Colts have won on the road in Jacksonville. And Trevor Lawrence did not, make any boneheaded plays, which he's been doing a lot of these games for Jacksonville. Travis Etienne had a nice, strong showing in the backfield. Their defense was really strong in this game once again, forcing a couple big turnovers on the Colts. But they now go into first place of the AFC South, so they're looking like in a great position to make the playoffs this season. The Colts, with this loss round off of what happened on Sunday night, they are now the first team out of the playoffs. So to try to salvage something this year, Johnson, I don't know how it's going to go, and it's a very good possibility he might play this upcoming Sunday. Phillip Rivers, who has not played in the NFL since 2020, was on the Hall of Fame ballot in 2026, is going to try one more time. The Colts signing him to the practice squad originally. He's now on the active roster. And he's got a realistic shot, it seems like, to play this Sunday because with Riley Leonard's injury, the only other quarterback they have on the roster is Brett Rypien. So it might seem like 44-year-old Phillip Rivers is going to start for the Colts on Sunday. And keep in mind, the Colts' last playoff win did come in 2020 with Phillip Rivers at quarterback. So if they want to get back to the postseason, they're going to need Phillip Rivers to try to salvage what has been a really unfortunate last couple of weeks for them.
We live in a sick, sick world, Nick. You know what's even sicker? Those Cincinnati Bengals fans. They're just absolutely felt like they got gut
They're
punched.
sick of their defense, that's for sure.
After the Bills beat them this Sunday.
Yeah.
You're talking about a team that should have. This is probably the third win in the last 6 weeks that they've blown.
It's the third game this year where their offense has put up insane numbers and the defense.
2 with Joe Flacco. This would easily be a 7-win Bengals team without Joe Burrow for the majority of the year.
And keep in mind, Burrow did throw an interception, which was a crazy interception to begin with, that Christian Benford returned back for a pick six. So at least 7 points weren't the fault of the Bengals on that play. But their defense just had no answer for Josh Allen. I mean, what can you say more about what he did in this game? 22 of 28, 251, 3 touchdown passes. Also had a 40-yard rushing touchdown. He had 78 yards rushing in this game, which is insane for a quarterback. And Joe Burrow, to his credit, did everything he possibly could. He threw for 4 touchdowns on the day. But the 2 interceptions were realistically the biggest reason why the Buffalo Bills were able to come back in this game. And it was a great game because, as I mentioned last week, this was the type of game that I think, you were hoping Burrow would be back first off when you saw it on the schedule. But then, you got the weather conditions, with being a snowy day in Buffalo. It's kind of like the picturesque NFL type of game you want. 2 star quarterbacks playing against each other. You have, football condition weathered in Buffalo, New York. And we got a great game out of it between the two teams. Buffalo gets the win. They stay alive in the AFC East race. Meanwhile, the Bengals, they lose the game. They're currently right now 3 games back of Pittsburgh in the AFC North. So
they're done.
Their hopes are really slim. They really needed to win this game to have any hope. They would need a practical miracle to make it to the postseason this year as the North champions. But I think the good side is at least that Burrow has been playing solid since he
doesn't look injured, which is good.
Right, which is of course what's been the problem for Baltimore. It's not being the problem for Cincinnati. The problem continues to be, of course, their defense just sucks. So
9-8 might do it for the Steelers once again. The Mike Tomlin special.
Yeah,
but you know what won't do it? The Bears right now, and after an impressive run where we all thought they were dead on arrival, the Packers end up beating them. So it seems like they can't defy the odds forever.
This is another
the Packers
great game.
Are right in the first place.
Yeah, not only in the first place of the NFC North, but now first. I'm sorry, but I forgot about the Rams winning on Sunday. So technically, they're not the first team in the NFC standings. But the Packers are right now a half game behind the Rams for the number 1 seed in the NFC. But they're now
tied
back
of the Browns.
in first place.
That dang tie to the Browns might cost them
the Cowboys. That was the tie.
They lost to the Browns and they tied to the Cowboys.
Yeah, think about that.
Should have won. Yeah. They both should have won.
The Packers game against both the Browns and Panthers both should have been wins.
It's craziness.
Yeah. And in the Cowboys
Uh,
game, they should have won that game too, but they had no defense that game for some reason.
the Panthers are at least a
And
decent team. I will say the Panthers are a decent team.
they've been showing signs. And hey, listen, right now they got a shot at the division title right now
They're
in the
right.
NFC
Yeah,
South.
it's the
Um,
tiebreaker right now for the Buccaneers, but we'll talk more
it's
about that later.
Yeah. Looking at this game between Chicago and Green Bay controlled it early on. I'll give the Bears credit. They fought back in this game the second half because it looked like the Packers going into halftime were going to blow them out and expose them. And to the Bears' credit, they fought back because they did not give up. They forced Jordan Love to throw an interception. They got some nice big throws from Caleb Williams in the second half, but they had a chance towards the end of the game to tie the game. Williams throws the interception at the end to fall 28-21. So the thing that sucks for one of these two teams, realistically, at the end of the day for this game, is that you look at where the Bears are right now. They go from number one seed in the NFC to now the last team in the playoffs. And you have Detroit looming on behind you in the standings too, which is not going to be easy for this Bears team. And as we mentioned before last week, the Bears' final four games, they got to win this week against Cleveland. They cannot allow the Browns to win that game. But then you got Packers at home, Niners on the road, and then that Lions team to end the season. That game between the Lions, more than likely, in my opinion, is probably going to be winning in for a wild card spot, it looks like. Um, but they need to win against Cleveland and set themselves up in a position where next week against Green Bay, a win in that game could put them back into first place in the NFC North. Otherwise, they're going to be realistically in a really bad spot where Detroit can leapfrog them in the standings.
Speaking of leapfrog, it's really funny, Nick.
Yeah.
6'7".
Oh,
6'7". That's what the kids say, right? 6'7's funny.
God damn it. Yeah.
Six
Yep.
seven's really funny. You know what's even funnier?
The
That's the
Chiefs
Chiefs'
losing.
records too.
Yep.
6-7.
How about this?
Prime
Well,
of his career, Patrick Mahomes,
oh,
six
wait,
and
wait, wait, wait.
seven, almost playing
Before
irrelevant football within 2 weeks.
Can before you go on this rant, before you do this, can I give credit to the Texans and go on their side of the story because I know the Chiefs will be a little
Oh,
bit more talked
absolutely. The
about.
Texans defense played a phenomenal game. They've
I mean, this is
held
the best defense in
quarterbacks.
the NFL.
Yeah, they've held quarterbacks to multiple interceptions and no passing touchdowns the entire year. You can go into the details because
Yeah,
my rant is over.
let me talk about the Texans first because I know you're going to want to talk about the Chiefs a lot more to an extent. This Texans team has been impressive. I did not give them that much credit when we did our regular season preview this season. I thought the offense was going to struggle, which, in fairness, it has struggled a lot this season. But their defense is doing more than enough to make up for it right now at this point in the season. The last three games, you play three, on paper, solid offenses, and you've held them to 19 points, 16 points, and 10 points. And you mentioned it, Patrick Mahomes having a career high 3 interceptions, which is you obviously never see from him do that. No passing touchdowns in this game either for him. And the Texans, they're in a great position right now. I really feel like this is a team that isn't being talked about a lot right now for what they're doing. And they realistically could make a run in the AFC postseason this year. I really like what they're doing right now. I think it's going to come down to can they win the division and get a home playoff game, or are they going to have to go on the road and use that team defense to try to, get them through those road games, which obviously is not a problem for them. But I'm curious to see what happens in the next couple weeks for this team. But I'm really liking what they're doing. But I held you from doing your Chiefs rant, so
Oh no,
let's hear it.
that's the rant. I don't think I need to beat a dead horse. Uh,
Yeah.
Listen, TikTok. That's all I'm gonna say.
So the playoff odds for the Chiefs right now are really bad. Probably the lowest it's been in years. Going into this week, the Chiefs' current playoff odds are 13%. Even if they win, it's only 18%. And if they lose, it is less than 1%. So TikTok is definitely right for this team. I don't even know what you say about them. It's
Well,
just been really
5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was, we got such good wide receivers. Rasheed Rice are coming back. The league is screwed. Mahomes is so good. Now it's the receivers are bad. The defense is bad. The offensive line is bad. Andy Reid needs to get fired. So within 6 weeks, a complete narrative has changed between the Chiefs bandwagon fans. They don't know who to blame. So
Yeah.
Hint: it's the quarterback.
Yeah, Mahomes has been really up and down. This was by far one of his worst, if not his worst game of his NFL career. And I really don't know where you go from here if you're Kansas City, because it's not like it gets easier the rest of the way for this team. They have to play the Chargers this upcoming weekend. And even though they have the Titans and the Raiders in between their Christmas Day game, they have to play the Broncos on Christmas Day. So the best it looks like, I mean, obviously winning out is the only hope they have. And even if they win out, it's really not a guarantee they even make the playoffs if they win out at this point. I think it's probably over. And I know you're
Probably.
happy about it.
I'm not gonna say anything until it's finally over. But you know what wasn't over? The game when regulation was over. Because this
Love
past
the
Monday,
segues this week.
love the segues today. The Chargers beat the Eagles in overtime,
Man,
and
what?
the
How about
Chargers, I thought they were gonna implode, but here
did
we are.
did you see the stat of what happened for this game?
Yeah, Sully had 4 interceptions, right?
Yes, that's true. The two Super Bowl quarterbacks from last season had 0 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions combined.
You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it.
Jalen Hurts having, if you had him in fantasy this week and you had him throw 4 interceptions, and keep in mind on one of those interceptions he recovered a fumble and then fumbled the ball afterwards. Never saw that happen once whatsoever. Um, Yeah, undoubtedly Jalen Hurts' worst game of his NFL career. That there's no doubt about it. Had a chance to win it towards the end of the game in overtime, and he throws a pass that got tipped and then intercepted by safety Tony Jefferson. Yeah, I completely agree with you because the Chargers look like we're going to charger it up and lose this game, especially when the Eagles went for it on 4th and 4 and they went offsides to allow the Eagles' drive to continue. And despite, Justin Herbert playing injured, despite the obvious injuries to the offensive line, the Chargers did nothing offensively in this game. Their defense, which really hasn't been talked about a lot this season, really made the big plays when they needed it most in this one. They get the win. They go to 9-4 in the season. Still have a chance at the AFC West title, but it looks like that's the Broncos to lose at this point. It's all about for them at this rate, just trying to get one of those last wild card spots, and they really look like they are in a good position to lock up a wild card spot with this victory over the Eagles, who, as we talked about earlier, Johnson, despite Dallas losing on Thursday, their division lead remains a game and a half, and as long as they don't fall in one of those games against the Commanders or the Raiders, they should still be in the playoffs. But remember what happened, was it 2023? I think it was either 23 or 24 where they lost the game to I think it was a 2 or 3 win Cardinal team, which was unheard of. And I remember vividly where you and I were for that day when it happened. Um it's not out of the question that they could lose a game at this point to one of these teams because their offense is playing absolutely pathetic right now. I mean, it's these last, what is it, 5 games have been some of the worst offensive football they probably have ever seen in their franchise's history.
It really is crazy, Nick. It really is
Can you
crazy.
do you remember where can you take a guess on where you
Were
thought
we hanging out, Aaron?
no, we were at the movie theater. We were going to see Oppenheimer that day, I believe.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And we got out of the theater and we were watching the Eagles about to lose. Well, they lost to the Cardinals, of course, that day. That was the day also that the Giants had Tyrod Taylor starting, and he was like making an insane comeback against the Rams, and then they lost in the 2 point conversion try. I can't believe I remember that vividly, but I remember the Eagles losing the game like this to the Cardinals. I think that was 2 years ago, right? Oppenheimer, when that came out.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and that was when the Eagles collapsed that season too. So all I'm saying is it's not out of the question that this could happen to the Eagles. They got rid of their positivity buddy. Did you hear about this too? Only 1 week. Or did you not hear about that news?
I did not hear about that news.
Yeah, they had an inflatable positivity bunny in their locker room because the vibes were so bad. And the players had to tell the reporters, we're not using this because we're sad. We're just using this because we want to bring good vibes in the clubhouse. And they immediately removed it after losing on Monday. And it
You really
lasted a
hate to
week.
see it, Nick. You really hate the
Just
Saints.
how you know this is kind of I see the vision with the Chiefs now than you do because I mentioned it last week. I'm starting to do that with the Eagles now, and I can't say I'm upset by it. This was a funny way that they lost on Monday, and the fact that it was also the Monster Inc. Broadcast probably made it even better.
Yep. It was even funny. You know what's not funny, Nick? The mushing hour.
It was okay for us last week, at least.
Yeah, we went 4-3. You know, 4 out of 7. That's
Yeah,
if
we'll
you were
take
gonna
that.
listen on a weekly basis, 57% is excellent. Now for the entire season,
That's a different
let's not
story.
talk about that.
Listen, there's
You're
still
getting better now.
time. There is still some time to get to 500.
Mhm.
If we just keep having a couple more 4 and 3 weeks, maybe 5 and 3 weeks, depending on how many games there are, you never know. You
You can
never
do it.
know.
You might do it.
You might do it. So let's get things started on Thursday night. Why don't you go for it, Johnson?
Yeah, we got the Falcons at Buccaneers prime
Oh, this
time. We
game
got
sucks.
Buccaneers at home. Hey, Buccaneers minus 4.5 and 44.5 is the slated over under. Give me Bucks minus 4.5, Nick. They're gonna do it this time. They gotta.
This game, I'm sorry, this game sucks. The Bucks, what is going on? Can you explain to me what's going on with this Buccaneers team? You can't say injuries because they're getting healthy.
You know, I'm not really sure. I think they just have a case of the yips.
I mean, losing to the Saints is that really the Ips or just what something's going on like that's wrong? I think really losing Liam Cohen, their offensive coordinator last season, is really showing right now. Because let's face facts, their offense hasn't looked prolific as they did last season. Now I know they're going to get Mike Evans back. It looks like for this game, so that will help a little bit. But the Falcons also suck. I mean, they played great first half against the Seahawks, kept the game close, and then they got destroyed in the second half. They lost to the Jets the week prior. They don't even have a first round pick this season. It's all bad for Atlanta. I don't want to take the Buccaneers because of what's been going on with them, but I'm going to have to just because they're playing the Falcons. So I'll take the
That's the
4.5
spirit.
as well. Yeah, it's just a bad game. It's just a bad day. Hopefully, for fantasy purposes, for people that are in their fantasy playoffs, if you have a player, which more than likely you probably have Bijan Robinson more than likely in this game, and maybe Ibuka or someone, you're hoping for a lot of points in this matchup. But speaking of a lot of points, we might see that on Sunday, Johnson. Let's go with the first game of the Sunday slate. It's Ravens at the Bengals. Ravens 2.5 point road favorite. 52.5 the over under. Can Baltimore get revenge from that Thanksgiving loss on Thursday night a couple weeks ago?
Maybe, but I'm gonna pick the Bengals to cover this game. That's a Bengals plus 2.5 for me.
Yeah, I really think the Bengals are going to win again. I have no faith in Baltimore right now with their defense, but again, I don't have faith with Bengals defense either. So, with that being said, I'm taking the over. Just think it's more than simple enough. The Bengals might not have T. Higgins in this game, which might hurt that a little bit, but if you got Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase, you should have more than enough chances to score in this matchup. So I got Baltimore, Cincinnati over 52.5 on Sunday. What's our next game?
We've got Chargers at Chiefs. Chiefs at home, 5.5 point favorite, over underslated 41.5. And Nick,
Go
you know
ahead.
me,
Yep.
Chiefs money line. Because even when
Yeah.
they lose, I
Yeah.
win.
I know. Uh, I'm gonna go Chargers plus 5.5. I think this is kind of a disrespectful line to the Chargers. This is kind of how I felt about the Texans line last week, where they were 3.5 point underdogs. I just think right now the Chargers, obviously they beat them earlier this season. I do think the Chiefs win this game, but I don't think they win this game by 5.5, 7 points. They have not shown anything to give me that faith that they're going to do that. So I'll take the Chargers to cover the 5.5, and a must win for Kansas City, obviously, because they lose this game, they're out of the playoffs officially. So they need to get that done. Also, Johnson, once we finish up our mushing hour, I will have the playoff picture scenarios for the AFC and NFC. I can break those down before we wrap this show up tonight.
That sounds good to me.
Our next matchup, well, will be one of those scenarios that we will talk about in just a few short moments. It's a big matchup for you, Johnson. It's Bills at the Patriots. Bills 1.5 point favorite, 50.5 the over under.
I think the Patriots are going to win, so if you could give me the points, I'll take him. Pats plus 1.5.
I'll take the Bills minus 1.5. I think the Patriots are going to win the division still, but the Bills, I don't think they're going to get swept in this season series. I think they'll get revenge for what happened in Orchard Park earlier on in the season. I think they go to Foxborough and get the job done in this matchup. I might as well, since we're talking about this game, I'll bring up the scenario for this matchup. The big scenario, of course, is obviously Patriots win the game, they clinch the AFC East, so a win, and the Patriots are the AFC East champions. The Patriots, even if they don't win the game, they could still clinch a playoff berth if Houston loses to Arizona, plus the Colts loses Seattle. So one of those things more likely will happen. I don't know about Houston losing to Arizona, but the Patriots have two chances to clinch a playoff spot. One of them, of course, being a division title on Sunday afternoon. Then our next matchup, Johnson. Let's go into it.
Yeah, we've got Colts at Seahawks. Snooze fest. Seahawks are a 13.5 point favorite.
Philip
Home
Rivers, what
42
do
and a
you
half
mean?
is the slate over under. I don't care, Nick. Oh, give me the over.
The over. You know what? Give me the gunslinger to cover the 13.5. Why
All
not?
right, the Colts will lose 37 to 12. Congratulations.
I will. I think I will only take this line if Philip Rivers starts. Am I allowed to change my pick if
I will
Rivers?
allow you to change your pick.
Okay. So I'm picking the Colts plus 13.5 if Rivers plays. If it's Brett Ripien, then I'll take the over too. I'll ride with you on the over if that does happen. So we'll have a hypothetical. If Rivers plays, I'll take the Colts. If he doesn't play, I will take the over in that matchup. But yeah, I just think 13.5 is a lot of points. I might as well just take the spread and see what happens in that matchup. This one won't be a snooze fest, it looks like, potentially, between two of the top teams in the NFL. It's Packers at the Broncos. Packers go on the road, are a 2.5 point favorite. 42.5 is the over-under.
Give me Packers minus 2.5 here. I think this is the obvious choice.
And there's a playoff scenario in this matchup as well. This is for Denver. Denver can clinch a playoff spot with a win against Green Bay or Houston losing to the Texans. Houston losing to the Cardinals and the Colts losing to the Seahawks. So the same scenario as New England if they want to clinch a playoff spot, but Denver also, of course, can clinch it with a win over the Packers. I'll take the Broncos plus 2.5. I think it really comes down to anytime you get a team that's 11-2, you get them as a home underdog. I might as well just take the points and see if I could roll with it. Two really good defenses in this matchup. I think this is going to be a low scoring game, but I'll take the Broncos plus 2.5 in that matchup. Not easy to go into Mile High and win on the road. So I got Denver plus 2.5. How about our next matchup? Very good one.
Lions at Rams, not prime time, surprisingly. We have the Rams
Yeah.
at home, 5.5 point favorite. 55.5 is a slated over under. So that's 5-5, 5-5-5.
Yeah.
That is a
fives.
lucky number in a lot of cultures.
Booker
And
T's doing a
because of that,
spinneroni here in that many fives?
maybe, but you know who
Yeah,
will
maybe.
be? The Rams after they win and cover at home. Give me Rams minus 5.5.
And the Rams have a playoff scenario for this matchup. They will just clinch a playoff spot if they win this matchup with Detroit. Yeah, I was like you. I could not believe this was not the Sunday night game. I don't know how they did not flex this game, considering what we have for Sunday night football. This game should have been Sunday night. It's a great matchup between two of the most prolific offenses in the entire NFL. I know the number is high. I'm just going to take the number. I think there could be 60 points scored between these two teams. So I got the over in the Lions and the Rams. Good luck to anyone facing a position player in this matchup in the fantasy playoffs because it could be a very, very long night for you having to watch this game if the over hits. So I got the over 55.5 in Detroit and Los Angeles on Sunday evening. And then, Johnson, we go into Sunday night football. Vikings at the Cowboys. Cowboys a 5.5 point favorite. 47.5 is the over under.
Vikings to cover. Vikings plus 5.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with you on this one too. I think the Vikings, McCarthy having a really strong game last week. I think it comes down to the defense is going to keep them in this matchup. Their defense is at least strong enough to stop the Cowboys, and the Cowboys defense, of course, is just not good. But if there was ever a game for the Dallas defense to step up in, it's probably this game against Minnesota. So I'll take the Vikings plus 5.5. I think they could get the job done and win this game on the road, but it should be a close one between these two teams. And then we round it out on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, we have Dolphins at Steelers. And I'm already
Yeah.
asleep. Steelers are at home, -3. And over underslated at 42.5. Just give me Steelers -3 and the Dolphins fire their head coach after the game. Goodbye, Mike.
Hey, to think that they're in the playoff picture still at this point in the season is insane because they were out of it like weeks ago. I think they get officially eliminated if they lose this game. I don't really know what to pick in this one. I'm with you on this too. It's kind of like a snooze fest. I think the only reason I'm going to lean with the Steelers is because the Dolphins, I don't remember the last time they've won in Pittsburgh. I'm not going to bother looking up that side like I did last week with the Colts and Jags. But they've had some really bad games when they go into Pittsburgh, including the playoffs, of course. So I'll just take the Steelers -3 in this matchup. They can't afford to lose this game with Baltimore still a game behind them in the standings, so they have to win this one um, and avoid Baltimore. Because if Baltimore loses to Cincinnati and they get the win, I mean, being up 2 games with, 3 games left afterwards would be huge for Pittsburgh. Try to lock up the AFC North and, as you mentioned, try to go 9-8 potentially and still be just enough to win that division this season. So that'll do it for this week's edition of the Mushing Hour. Any final thoughts, Johnson, before we wrap this one up?
No, Nick. Just let's see what happens in Kansas City this week. That's what I'm waiting on.
Just
I don't
in
even care
Kansas
about the
City?
game say it again.
I was saying just in Kansas City you're only worried about?
I don't care what happens in Foxborough. I don't care.
I think at the end of the day, yeah, you're up 2 games. Even if you do lose, you're still a game up.
Yeah, I'm not that nervous, especially if you play the Jets and Dolphins at the end of the year. So
who's the other team they play other than the Jets and
Ravens.
Dolphins? Ravens, yes, we just talked about that earlier. Yeah. I think it's going to come down to the 1 seed really for you guys if you can get that between you and Denver.
Now, if we tie with Denver and we could have won this game, since we both lose this week, then I'll be a little mad. But that's the way I'm going to take it.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, the thing, like we said at the beginning, no one thought that these would be the 2 teams right now competing for that 1 seed, but that's where we currently are right now. It's been a great coaching job by both Mike Vrabel and Sean Payton to get their teams to this point in the season. And one of them is going to get that 1 seed, and this could be one of the games, Johnson, as you mentioned, that could be the deciding factor on who gets the 1 seed, especially if Green Bay beats Denver, and then you guys beat the Bills and clinch the AFC East on the side with it. So great games coming up this weekend. But that will do it for this week's edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. We now head into week number 15 of the National Football League season. It all starts on Thursday night with the Falcons and the Buccaneers. Going into Sunday, Ravens and Bengals, Chargers and Chiefs, Bills and Patriots. It's the Packers and Broncos, Colts, Seahawks, Lions and Rams, Vikings and Cowboys on Sunday night. And then the week rounds out with Dolphins and Steelers on Monday night. Once those games conclude, and we will be back here on the show next week to recap all the action here in week number 15 and then preview week number 16 in the National Football League. For Nicholas Pavona and Andrew Johnson, this has been the All Gas No Break Sports Show. Have a great rest of your week.